Hi there, and welcome to episode 44 of the ADHD Adults podcast. I'm James Bryan, apparently just now known as Mrs. ADHD's husband, because I was stupid enough to ask our listeners to vote on a new Instagram name for myself. And as usual, I'm joined by the man who made Sleeping Beauty press snooze for a few more years, Dr. Alex Connor. Alex, hi.
Word to your mother, James?
Word to my mother. Wait, she written a letter to you? Is Sylvia from Kidderminster written a letter to you, Al? You've done that one before, I think. It's topical, I suppose. How are you anyway, you cockwomble?
I'm blooming well, thank you. Yeah, really good.
As always.
As always, excellent. This podcast is being listened to, and that number keeps increasing. Like, honestly, it's ridiculous. There's now, in your terms, James, silly numbers of people with us, and we like it, but why? We do not know. One of them, James, sent us a letter. That's right, James. It's from, just checking, it's from a Robert from Kidderminster. It says, I've just listened to the I can't do this. I've just listened to the Prisms episode, and it was ironic because James, and then just a lot of the letters redacted out, and then at the end it just says, and now he's banned from within 50 metres of any Oliver Bonas shop. So thanks, Robert. That's not surprising at all. I've got a real letter. Can I read it out?
No.
It's quite an honest one.
Okay, we'll go ahead, because if this one's actually real, then yeah, you can.
Yeah, it is. Okay. This one is. It's from Chris, because I asked, and one bit of it's interesting. Well, it's all interesting, but yeah, you'll see. Hello, James and Alex. I wanted to send you this letter to thank you and extend my appreciation for your podcast and organisation. I keenly hope it won't be lost in the mail and that it'll reach you intact and with my handwriting still legible. I mean, Chris emailed this. I found your podcast on Spotify about 3 weeks before I got my official diagnosis. Congratulations. Both then and now, I find your handling of science information, James, and personal reflection separately to be optimally helpful and in stark contrast to many other podcasts on ADHD. While at first I found your report a bit uncomfortable, it has grown on me, especially in contrast to the positivity and credulence of the rest of them. Or credibility, I guess. After listening to so many superpower talking types and the like, I can thoroughly appreciate you both repeating, you can't do it endlessly. It made me laugh. So thanks, but no thanks for the fact that I've started speaking in a British accent while composing this, and even almost signed off with the name of an old television show. Chris, I love that. The uncomfortable thing really got us, didn't it, James?
I do, yeah. I think the only mistake in that was you should have said lack of rapport, because we don't have any, do we, to be honest?
No, and it's just banter. It's just jokes. James is, in fact, in love and obsessed with me.
No. I mean, it's in a very real sense, utter loathing for you, Alex, and you know that.
I do.
Yeah.
Right. We are... Go on.
No. Carry on.
We are increasingly international. We now have a listener in at least 121 countries, and we think the new one is Fiji.
Now, I know for a fact you're making that up because we don't know what the new country is, Alex.
Fiji, I'm not. We are, of course, both bewildered and grateful, I am, to all our listeners. So this week, we'd like to say a big boola to our Fijian listener, which apparently can mean both hello and welcome, which is efficient.
Pitiful. Pitiful, Alex. Okay, as usual, this used condom, sadly discarded in an alleyway outside a betting shop of a podcast, is a tragedy in 3 parts. We choose a theme. Last week we talked about ADHD and prisons with the amazing Maria, and this week we're focusing on something else. I don't know why it says that, because of course we're focused. Did you write that bit, Alex? We're focusing on something else.
I did.
No, we're doing prisons again. Why not? Let's do that.
It was good.
Jesus fucking Christ. So this is the first part of a double fister, where we're talking about parenting with ADHD, and specifically in this episode, we're talking about being a mother with ADHD. We're starting with mothers because obviously, I mean, it's harder. It's blatantly harder for mothers with ADHD.
Yeah.
We've got a special guest on, Jessie. Hi, Jessie.
Hello, boys.
Hello.
I need to say something else because I know we have to do silly hellos, but it's not from me. It's from Laura and Dawn from ADHD AF. Oi, oi! That wasn't me.
Oi, oi!
I feel like this
That
is
was
just,
Laura and Dawn.
well, I'm going to speak to Laura and Dawn because I feel like that's ganging up on me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the three parts include some evidence-based psychoeducation about mothers with ADHD. Alex, you definitely wrote this about mothers with ADHD.
That doesn't make any sense, does it?
No, it doesn't. Delivered by the man ironically no mother could love, Alex, the psychoeducation monkey. Our personal reflections aren't in any way relevant, so therefore we'll allow Jessie to speak to us about being a mother with ADHD. And then the third and final bit, again, top tips. What the fuck am I going to offer? I mean, they're normally bad, but again, absolutely nothing from me. So that really doesn't work, but we'll fudge it somehow, largely with Jessie providing some insight. And obviously, most people have stopped listening by then anyway. So, Alex, before you... oh no, we've already introduced you. Again, I jumped ahead in attention. So I'll ignore that bit because Jessie said hello. So, Jessie, how are you? And more importantly, why would you agree to come on this absolute car crash of a podcast?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me.
Pleasure. You're welcome.
How am I? I'm not okay. Neither are my kids. Neglected is the word.
Yeah.
I've literally hyper-focused on this conversation that we're going to have about myself that I already know. I've Alex will tell you I've written a dissertation in preparation.
Yeah, a lot redacted now though. Look.
Yeah. And I learned that word yesterday as well. Reactive. Is that the right word? Anyway,
Redacted.
It is.
Redacted. I've not done the dissertation now, and I'm not even going to read the script. But I do want to say that this podcast preparation has highlighted to me, and probably us, that we're probably reading a better conversation about ADHD and learning difficulties, scripts, microphones, technology, answers to questions, shit me. And I'll be much more emotionally involved in all that shit than my own children this week.
To be fair, though, Alex struggles with scripts, microphones, and technology. So this is clearly something that affects at least two people that I now know.
Yeah.
But all that aside, I did want to come on because I was hoping to get some sympathy if I shared my struggles.
Bloody right.
I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get any from James.
I've obviously created a public persona that I have no sympathy. It's just for Alex. It's everybody else.
He's the nice one, really, in real life.
I know. This is all.
I have been told that, Alex, actually. But yeah, maybe some sympathy from you, Alex, and how many listeners you got? That's what's scaring me.
About 20. It's about 20, but they keep re-listening, don't they?
I woke up thinking about it. Anyway, and from that, hopefully some free childcare or something, some help to put my life back together.
We're now in the pocket of big childcare.
Yeah, we are, yeah.
Free childcare, it's important.
Yeah, it is. So Jessie, how many kids have you got and how old are they?
Well, I have two children. One is a a young lady, 17, and a boy who's 8.
Brilliant. Well, hi to both of them. They're probably not listening. I mean, why would anyone listen? But hi to both of them.
The boy will probably burst through the door, even though he has been told all week, this is the time, don't speak to me, don't breathe, don't do anything. He will burst through the door, honestly, because he'll forget, because he has ADHD.
I use the same approach with Mrs. ADHD. To be fair, most of the time, don't speak to me, just stay away from me. Right. Thank you for that, Jess. Now comes the boring bit from Alex. So go on, Alex, bore us to death.
Thanks, James. Right, this is the psychoeducation bit, as always. We're talking about aspects of ADHD that affect intersections again, or as I said to Jess yesterday, James and I aren't intersexual. I meant intersectional. So James and I aren't, we don't have this intersection, do we? But what we're going to do is barge blindly past that fact, step out of our lane and pretend to know something.
Yeah.
We're not really. This is what we sort of know. The first sentence probably isn't going to surprise anyone who listens to this podcast. There is very little robust research on parenting with ADHD, as everything tends to focus on parenting children who have ADHD. However, between 1/4 and 1/2 of ADHD children will have at least one ADHD parent. So we really should think about this more in research and in support.
Is that the start? I mean, I know I've read papers and written talks on this, but I've forgotten, because we do get a lot of messages saying that it's often because somebody recognises or somebody's child gets diagnosed, that they then start thinking about themselves, and that kind of makes sense genetically, I suppose, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, and it's probably more than that. That stat is mostly based on diagnosed parents, so actually it could be way more than a quarter of ADHD children having one parent. Could be way more. So most adult women with ADHD are not diagnosed. Most. Treatment and support definitely helps with most aspects, so already there you've got a problem, right? Even with diagnosis and treatment, many of the aspects of parenting hit the exact buttons that we struggle with. Cultural expectations on mothers as well, to do the things ADHD people often struggle with. These are just higher than they are on dads. As you well know, behave yourself if you're saying, oh, it's so hard being a dad with ADHD. But it's definitely true that it's harder. It reminds me when people say, oh, when's International Men's Day on Women's Day?
Every day is International Men's Day.
It really is, yeah. So, there is a likely chance that if you are parenting and you have ADHD, one of your kids will have it too. So, more ADHD, more problems. I wrote Mo and I couldn't say it.
I know. I was waiting for you to.
I can't do it.
I mean, you're disappointed. I was just waiting for you to do that so I could rip the piss out of you.
No chance.
Not brave enough. Cowardly, Alex. Cowardly.
It's like when I wrapped the periodic table. You didn't like that either. Right, there is some research, well, one study that suggested that infant years were highly problematic. I don't think that's massively shocking, such as lower parent sleep quality, fewer social supports. A second study suggested that mothers' ADHD symptoms led to problems with consistent discipline and issues giving supportive responses to a child's negative emotions. And this then led to high levels of reported home chaos. And that was when either they or their children had high levels of ADHD symptoms. When they looked at dads, it was only their own ADHD symptoms that predicted high levels of home chaos. That one's a bit embarrassing. So that's a selfish shock. Mm-hmm. So in general, and this is probably obvious, while support for those executive function skills we struggle with can really help, getting a diagnosis, treatment, and emotional acceptance, blah, 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 of your own ADHD as a mother seems to be key to more effective child-mother relationships. That is true for dads, of course.
So I suppose the take-home message is, I can't have kids, and you're rubbing your massive fertility in my face again, Alex.
That is clearly what's happening.
Actually, that's an image, you rubbing your fertility in my face, that none of our listeners want to have in their brains, I imagine.
No, don't you mean?
So let's talk to an actual mother with ADHD. We've already introduced Jessie. What are your thoughts on all the bullshit that Alex has just spouted?
To be fair, it's not all bullshit. I can totally relate to most of it, especially all of it, actually, the chaos, absolute chaos and consistency with boundaries. I'm better now, but as a younger mother to my daughter, I really struggled with that. And I'm pretty sure, not to get too deep, that's resulted in some attachment issues for her. But that's another podcast. Both of my children, after I had both my children in infant stages, which I now know was ADHD exacerbated by my shitstorm of hormones, nearly broke me. I was told I had postnatal depression both times. I was put on different antidepressants both times, which basically made me into a zombie. And that's not great when you're trying to keep a tiny human alive, especially as a single mother. So that one resonates hard. So I can relate as well to this whole pressure, the societal and the cultural expectations on mums, especially, to be a perfect mum. So when I was writing my dissertation yesterday, I found some research. Basically, it said that feeling pressure to be a perfect mother relates to parental burnout and high levels of guilt and stress. And this is even without the added difficulties of ADHD.
So that's everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, so everybody in our society, culturally. Yeah. So just being a mum. Yeah, I always thought it was my job to take the pressure off my partner whilst literally drowning. So
Wow.
that's something has to give, and every time that's been my mental health and my relationships, hence why I'm single, excuse me. I've just been pissed off with doing it all, not being able to do it all, wanting a career, wanting to be a mum, trying to be an attentive partner, and struggling day to day with ADHD.
That's a lot, isn't it?
It's a lot.
Yeah, when I verbalize, when I've been completely hyper focused on this and thinking about it and pulling like my mind and my life apart and verbalizing it, it's a fucking lot. And
Yeah, it is.
no wonder some of the things I've stumbled across in my life have happened.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming being a mother and I'm not blaming ADHD, but the combination of both has been tricky.
I think you can blame ADHD, Jess. That's all right. It's an actual disorder.
Okay,
You're
so's me, mum.
Not getting involved.
Okay. But yeah, in reference to your last comment, you were saying about child with ADHD, adult with ADHD. My daughter has never been diagnosed because, as we're very well aware now, it presents much differently in girls.
Yeah.
But my son, on the other hand, does tick the boxes for diagnostics. My dad actually said to me yesterday, I was doing a bit of prep with him, and he said, "What, do you think he's got ADHD, do you?" I got really defensive. But he was just being ironic. Obviously, he has got ADHD. He's
right, okay.
absolute whirlwind. He is hyperactive. He's all the things boys are usually as an ADHD little boy. He doesn't concentrate. He hyper focuses. He's a whirlwind. He doesn't stop talking, dancing, singing, moving. Completely impulsive. Anyway, he ticks all the boxes, and that's an ADHD diagnosis, which thankfully for him and for me will likely be a much more rapid process. And yeah, I totally agree. Diagnosis, treatment, and emotional acceptance of my ADHD was the missing link for me in how I parent my children.
I mean,
lovely.
thanks so much for sharing that. Again, Alex wrote or tinkered with this script because it says thanks both, and that would indicate some kind of appreciation for Alex that I clearly don't have. So instead, I'll say thanks, Jessica.
Thanks, Jess. Yeah, changed it from thanks, Jess, to thanks both.
Good one.
No worries.
Right, we'll take a short break, and we'll be back in part 2 for some personal reflections, of which obviously I've got none. See you in a bit.
In 5, 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome back to episode 44 of the ADHD Adults podcast. We're talking in part 2 about personal reflections of being a parent, in specifically being a mother with ADHD. Oh dear, obviously I don't have any personal reflections. James, have you?
Well, as we've already covered, Alex, A, I'm not female. B, I can't have kids. Did I mention that fact, Alex, as you keep rubbing fertility in my face? And we've got to do this for another episode where I have to have my lack of children rubbed in my face. But it's not me, obviously, it's Mrs. ADHD. In fact, I'm too fertile, if anything. My sperm are they're too powerful. They probably punch holes in eggs or something. So no, I haven't.
And there's just one of them, isn't there, like Casper the Friendly Ghost?
Yeah, he's very lonely.
Big one.
He just sits there waiting, I suppose. So no personal reflections for me. I think again, it's probably best if we go to Jessica for this bit, maybe.
What we really want to know: how does it feel for you, Jess, being a parent, being a mother with ADHD?
Well, there's 2 different versions of me. I feel there is young parent me to my daughter. That's like the early 2000s, so quite a long time ago. And there's the older parent me to my son. He was born 2013. And there's one pre-diagnosis and after diagnosis. So they're both quite different and the same. So yeah, I am often questioned why such an age gap. And yes, there is 2 different fathers. Shock, horror. But aside from the heartbreak of failed relationships, and maybe relevant to mention, I've mainly been a single mum for the last 17 years. So being a young mum to my eldest, who's 17 now, probably said that already, life at home was chaotic. That's the best way I can describe it. Looking back, I can see why, because there was so much going on. I was really impulsive when I was younger. My impulsivity now is more internal, and I've learned how to manage it to an extent. But oh my God, my poor daughter. So I worked in hospitality, unsociable hours, 60 hours a week. I used to host students at the same time. There's been times when I had my house full. I had 10 students. This is before regulations came in. Not even lying. I had 4 Chinese guys in my living room. And then I had another 3 upstairs in my daughter's bedroom, then 1 in the box room. I slept on the sofa. Anyway, that's just a bit of insight.
I just wanted to say, it's like, after last week's podcast, I was just fighting the urge to say title of your sex tape.
I think we said that in the break, James, last week, not in the actual podcast.
Did we?
Oh,
Okay.
I lose my train of thought. Yeah, and just being a younger mum, like kitchen parties, always socialising. I always took too much on. I never said no. I was a complete people pleaser, which is like, you could be personality or ADHD or both. And all of this was taking care of a young child. And on top of all this, my ADHD symptoms, which the main ones I would say that would affect my parenting style or skills or my daughter, not being able to concentrate. I find it really difficult to read with my children. I get so bored.
God.
I get so bored, and they ask me a question and I don't even know where I am. It happens a lot. My working memory is probably my main difficulty, I would say. Hence why I've got to write everything down all the time. I forget everything. So that would impact my daughter a lot. I would forget parties. I would forget getting her school shoes or picking them up from her dad's, or she'd have to go to school in her trainers. I would just forget everything. Time blindness was a massive one. Still is quite big for me. And particularly for my daughter, because we were always late for everything. We were late for school, we were late for appointments, trips, play dates. I was always late picking her up. And that in turn made her feel really anxious. Also, regulating my emotions, that's bloody challenging for me. Not particularly then. I have my moments now sort of within my cycle. But I would get in such a state of overwhelm, and I would literally just explode at her, at people, and they wouldn't understand why. And that's because what's going on inside my head because of my ADHD and just, the sensory stimulus. However, on a more positive note, I feel like I can give myself a bad rap here. Being an older mum to my son, I am now armed with insight and knowledge and strategies that make mum life easier. And
Good.
I was thinking about this. Yeah, some of it is down to maturity and the epiphanies that come with age. But I would definitely say understanding myself and why I do the things I do has made me a more present parent, which is so important. I've calmed down. That's because I'm running out of steam. So like I said before, my external hyperactivity is becoming more internal now. But my main strategy is just to be honest, and I communicate to my son and I explain to him why. So he's nearly 9 now. So for example, sorry, I didn't listen to a word that you said and I snapped at you because you said mum. And that's because I've got loads of things going on in my head right now. And babe, it's nothing that you've done. It's totally me, which kind of sort of validates him and makes him understand that, mum's not absolutely crazy and he hasn't done something wrong is the main thing. And that's really helpful. My daughter just used to get snapped and shouted at from nowhere with no explanation.
That approach is actually really useful, not just for children, but for people in your life. Just explaining, actually, when something happens that it's because of your ADHD, but that takes confidence. The other thing I'd say is, Alex, stop typing with the heaviness of an elephant stamping its feet on the ground, because everybody can hear it.
I was not. I was making notes of new podcasts because Jess keeps giving me ideas. Oh, we could do that podcast next time. Sorry.
That's about 4 I've said now, I think. Hey, it's really bloody distracting, Alex. Stop it. Anyway,
Exactly.
yes. So yeah, basically, just in a world where mums are supposed to be maternal, whatever that means, and able to do things. Able to do things, tasks that perhaps come more readily to a neurotypical mum, organisation, remembering, focusing, managing emotions, consistency, which is really important for kids, as I've now learned within my mental health degree, and just being available. So yeah, part of being maternal for me means having the ability to be there emotionally for my kids, but also wanting to be present for you, my children. And both those statements have not always been possible for me. And that's been quite damaging before diagnosis.
I bet.
So yeah.
Alex, you're next in the script, which I have to remind you of because obviously you're not looking at it.
I know these things. So I didn't know. I was just in the interest of time wondering which question I could ask because I've probably only got time for one, haven't I, James? And I think what I really want to know really is what's your day-to-day life like right now and how is it before and after motherhood for you?
Before, if I'm brutally honest, and I know friends and family who will be listening to this who know this about me and some don't know this about me, I was completely lost in the realms of addiction. So I self-medicated from about the age of 13, 14 years old. And when I had my daughter, I was 25. So that's 10, 11 years of this. That definitely gave me the push to turn my life around. And now I understand the strong link between addiction and ADHD. So I used to really beat myself up about it. And I still have tendencies, I always will do. Yeah. But now I understand that link, I can mitigate that more. So basically, my life was a whirlwind before I had my daughter. And then when I had her, I was like an unaware hormonal tsunami. But I can safely say now it's more of a trickling stream. And that is, I'm going to get fluffy with you, but that is because I've had therapy over the years, like EMDR, CBT, ACT. And regarding the ADHD, I've educated and coached myself, and I've reached out to others, and I've become much more mindful and accepting of myself. Fluff over.
Yeah, but it's positive fluff. We like that. So so Jessica, what's next for you? Do you know?
No more children, and to be able to concentrate fully on the ones that I do have would be great. So yeah, this journey I've been on since I've recently qualified as a mental health nurse. So it was one of my great grand ideas that I was going to do, because I have an interest in it, because it's something to do with myself, because I have mental health. I decided to become a mental health nurse. So ADHD coaching and training to be an ADHD nurse specialist is next on my list, because I really want to join the assessment army, because I've got the training now. And to relieve some of those enduring waiting lists. So just play my part in that a little bit. And then dream of mine is to complete my psychology doctorate. So I would love to be a psychologist and go down the ADHD route with it. And it feels within reach now, because my headphone fell out. Because I've got the confidence to do it. Because you've got ADHD doesn't mean you lack the ability to be an academic. It is a lot harder, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I was given reasonable adjustments at uni, and I smashed a nursing degree. I didn't smash it. My personal life literally crumbled, and I nearly quit full time a few times. But the take home point is that I did it. And it sounds really cheesy, but finally at 42, I found my calling. You know, that self-actualization bit on the top of Maslow's pyramid. You know that one? I'm there. I'm getting there. I want to support others and leave a mini mark of sound advice and kind impact in this fucked up world.
Well, that's to be fair, that's lovely. And 42, you're a whippersnapper. I mean, I was what 46 when I found my calling, which was just to give Alex abuse for the rest of the years of his life. So thank you so much for sharing that. Are you not asking another question, Alex? Because you mentioned something about just picking one question. So if I can get if I can get you to speak less, there's a chance the podcast will be more popular, because I've looked at the statistics, and in the episodes where you do more talking, we get fewer listens. So if I can just keep you quiet, you know, there's no way
there's no way you've done that, but I bet that is true.
Probably.
So just in the interest of time, I'd just quickly, Jess, what's going on with you at the moment in coaching, for example? How do people get in touch?
So I've just started coaching. I've got some clients. That's quite cool. It's got a real emphasis on mental well-being with my mental health background and my own experiences. So I'm going to put the blood, sweat and tears. I spent that uni qualifying during a bloody pandemic. That was stressful. And my mental health nurse toolbox, some much needed use. And with my lived experience, I think I can create quite a good connection with my clients, which is really important aspect of coaching, as you guys know, because you do it. So we have a lot of fun, basically. So anyway, there's a link in my bio. I hate fucking social media. I was off it for 2 years, and I've come back on social media basically to put some food on the table for me and my children. Unless someone wants to send me some, it's fine. And you will find me on Instagram, Jessie B_ADHD life coach, and you'll find a link in there to get in contact.
Thank you. No time for the game, James.
Fuck off, Alex. There is time for the game. There's always time for the game. So as usual, we're going to play a game of What's James Lost, Forgotten or Done that's basically fucking stupid this week. And again, because we've got a guest, you both get to pick an option. Again, Alex, you go last because I don't like you. So
fair.
Very recently, in fact, Mrs. ADHD and I decided to start having a clear out of the house. And by the way, this really helps with mental health, decluttering and getting rid of all that shit that we've gathered over the years through impulse purchasing. Is beneficial. We give it away on an app called Olio, which is a great app for getting rid of shit because people will collect fucking anything that you leave outside your doorstep. But what happens during this process of clearing stuff out, that is ADHD. So the first option is that I forgot mid-clear out that we were clearing out, leaving Mrs. ADHD to do it all herself. The second option is, and this sounds a bit niche, I threw away all my screws before realizing I really needed some screws. And the third option is that I made a pile of things to keep and forgot about it, leaving it outside, and it's actually still there now. So those are the three options. Jessica, which one do you want to go with?
Amazing.
I didn't amazing.
I listened to the app, and I started thinking about this app and whether I should get it. And I had screws.
Right. Did he forget the whole thing? Did he throw away a bunch of screws, or is there a pile of stuff he actually wants still out on his pavement? Because I write them down because I've got no memory.
The screw thing. He threw away the screws.
Right. So you're going with screws, Alex. Alex, your usual technique of trying to insult me to get to an answer.
I think the reason I think it isn't the screws is because the idea of you doing DIY and having screws is remarkably laughable. I don't think it was the pile of things to keep because you haven't got anything worth keeping. So it's that you forgot to do it and Mrs. ADHD had to do it all. As always, James.
Fuck, he's got it right.
Yes!
Yeah.
I never win, Jess. I never win.
No,
it wasn't much competition.
No, exactly, because Jessica wasn't listening. So we started, and I did a good hour of cleaning stuff out, and then just sat on the sofa and left Mrs. ADHD doing it for the rest of the day.
So many times.
So on that devastating note,
yes.
Alex has now got a win. We'll take a break and we'll come back for some. I mean, I'm not going to call them top tips, not for me anyway. We'll come back for the I suppose we'll call it spunk trumpeting again, the last part of the podcast. So see you then.
Hello, welcome back to the ADHD Adults Podcast, episode 44. We're talking about parenting with ADHD. This is part one of a double header, James, where we're talking about mothers with ADHD, double header. This is the traditional part where we give our top tips on being a mother with ADHD. James, top tip?
Stop shouting. There's a top tip. Stop shouting, Alex.
Sorry.
You're really, really loud and it hurts my ears. Okay.
Right.
My top tip, which obviously is incredibly useful, is maybe have less powerful sperm. I don't know. That's about all I've got. What about you, Alex?
I mean, from the reason, obviously I can't give top tips or advice, but if you are a mother with ADHD, you probably already know it's emotional acceptance, blah, blah, blah. But it's not just emotional acceptance that you have ADHD. It's emotional acceptance that society treats mothers differently, worse. And the only example I can give to accept that and understand that you do have it worse is the look I get from colleagues, Jess, when I take my babies into work. It's, what a great dad. When I see mothers bring their babies into work, I don't get the same feeling from people that they're going, what a brilliant mother. They're going, well, why are you combining these two roles? And I've seen it firsthand. So I think just we're trying to change it, but to accept that life treats you worse than it does dads is probably the only thing I could say.
Yeah, and I struggle with that acceptance. I can't accept that.
No.
I can't.
No.
I don't even know if I want to, actually. But
No.
yeah, I kind of agree. But I would say as well, you hear about it getting banged on about all the time, and it's that fluffy stuff again. But yeah, self-acceptance and self-compassion about your ADHD, and both will make your ADHD days brighter and your parental mishaps easier to laugh at. I think laughter and just sort of having a bit of joke with yourself about stuff is cool. And just surround yourself with great, supportive people. Get a coach.
Yeah. But not Alex, obviously.
No, me. Get me.
Oh, yeah, very good.
Exactly.
I just plugged myself.
Right then, well, that brings us about to the end. We haven't got a product recommendation, maybe spermicidal lubricant in my case. So that was episode, not 45, Alex, in the script, episode 44, which is part one of a double fister about parenting for ADHD adults, being a mum with ADHD. So huge thanks to Jessica for coming on. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah,
that's okay. Can I just need to do one real quick thing.
Yeah.
I need to plug my mum quite aptly. No, my mum's actually in Addenbrooke's. She got took in 2 days ago. And she is, so thank you to everyone in Addenbrooke's looking after her. And she's going off to Papworth to have heart surgery, possibly today. So I'm going straight there after here. But I just want to say, hi, Mum. Love you lots. And thanks to all the staff that are looking after her.
What's her name, Jess?
Nikki.
Good luck, Nikki. Get well soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
And
okay, then. Yeah, so if you enjoyed this, which you probably didn't, why not support the show on the link? As otherwise, Alex is going to. Oh, you wrote this again. Otherwise,
changed it.
Alex is going to have to start selling James's hair as a Halloween Boris Johnson wig.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake. As usual, if you want to get in touch, contact us on the socials at ADHD Adult UK. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye, all.
Bye.
Trigger warning klaxon, 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 big klaxon. Trigger warning klaxon, 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 klaxon.